Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is episode 51 of High Street Sports. My name is Chris. This is John Ross. We made it through the first weekend of tournament basketball. A lot of upsets, a lot of intriguing matchups that had happened, and a lot that are still yet to happen. Looking around, the lowest seed is NC State. So if you want to call them a Cinderella story, then by all means, have at it. John Ross, what's going on, man? How are you doing? And initial thoughts off of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, the first day was fun. Second day was even better. If your bracket's like mine, you started off feeling pretty confident, and like per usual, it all went downhill from there. Starting with the what game set it? Oh, the Kentucky game set that off. If you remember from the last pot, I had Kentucky in my national championship game, so I'm an idiot. Thanks, Coach Cal. Yeah, a lot of fun upsets. Yale beating Auburn, Oakland. Jack Golke, that hit the one-man show, beating Kentucky in the first round. James Madison. Who else? What was the other 12 seed? Grand Canyon, the Lopes getting the win. Yeah. McNeese State did not make me look intelligent, getting blown off the floor by Gonzaga. All the one seeds are still alive in this. Seems kind of rare the past few years. Seems like a one seed slips in the second round to it, or if you're Purdue, to a 16 seed in the first round. But they exercised some demons in that first round. But yeah, excited for the Sweet 16s. Like you said, State's the only double-digit seed in here, kind of a far cry from the past few years. I need Houston and Marquette to do the Lord's work this weekend, though, and get Duke and State out of it. It's been fun in NC State for you guys at least, and I'm ready for it to be over.
Yeah, and Purdue made me look like an idiot. Utah State stood no chance. But,
I forget.
We can dream. That's buried in the annals of this show's history, and we will never talk about it again.
In your defense, you said you had nothing to back it up. You were just doing it, so I respect it.
I had nothing to back it up, and it was a fun scenario to play out in my head, mostly because I'm not a believer in Zach Edey, even though he is kind of making me eat my words a little bit. Purdue, looked good in that matchup, just absolutely beating the tar out of Utah State and blowing up my hopes and my parlay maybe. But that's neither here nor there. But we'll go ahead and talk about, what a lot of people still think is the best team in the country in UConn, and they've kind of showed that throughout their first two tournament matchups. They faced San Diego State, and, what we talked about right before we hit record, we don't really think San Diego State has much of a chance. UConn looks really good, and I don't know if San Diego State has a chance to slow them down.
I don't either. UConn's minus 11 in this one. The rematch of last year's national championship game, I think it'll be exactly the same scenarios. I think UConn's going to roll over the Aztecs in this one. They're just too good. They don't really have any weaknesses. Like I've said, they're the most complete team in college basketball. Donovan Clegane almost had a triple-double with points, rebounds, and blocks last game. They don't really have a big man who can contain him. Tristan Newton's going to do what Tristan Newton does, and I like UConn to win this game and cover. Quick shout out to Dan Hurley for being the biggest jackass in college basketball, bitching about where the NCAA puts it. Like, you're in Boston. I'm sorry that Boston is so far removed from Connecticut. That dude's a tool. He makes you not want to like UConn.
Yeah, but it's hard not to like the Huskies in this matchup anyways. It seems as though they will take care of business and get past San Diego State to make it to the Elite Eight. Illinois is another team who is playing some pretty good basketball as well. Terrence Shannon is a bucket, and there's really no other way to describe him. I mean, he does what he does with that basketball, and he does it well. And Iowa State, a team that, kind of didn't really dominate as a lot of people thought they might have, but found a way to get 2 victories under their belt to make their way back into the Sweet 16. This could be a pretty exciting matchup. I don't know if Iowa State has enough to slow down Terrence Shannon, but that's the only thing that they can hope for. I think I have the Illini in this one. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, Iowa State's favored, minus 1.5 in this one. This one's actually probably the most interesting matchup of the Sweet 16. It's the number 1 rated defense per Ken Palm versus the number one, that's Iowa State, number one rated defense against the number one rated offense per KenPom in Illinois. So something's going to have to give in this one. I do think in March defense wins championship, so I'm actually going to go with the Cyclones in this one. I think they have a really, really elite defense, and I think honestly, my game plan, if I were them, I could be wrong, very well could be wrong, but I would honestly let Terrence Shannon's going to do what Terrence Shannon does, make the rest of the Illini beat you. That would be my strategy.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
I like the Cyclones and their defense to win this one.
Yeah, I think if Illinois, not a bad defense for the Illini, and I think if it turns into a bucket for bucket kind of game, especially if
if
it's
it
not in
gets
the
into
first
an up
half.
and down track meet, I like Illinois. But if Iowa State can slow this down, make Illinois play in the half court, slow it down to a snail's pace, I like them to win this one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stick with Illinois. I like Terrence Shannon and what he brings to the Illini, and I think again, like it could turn into a situation where if they don't, if Iowa State's unsuccessful in turning it into that slower paced half court basketball game, that could turn into who has the ball last, and if the ball is in Terrence Shannon's hands and with the chance to win it, I like the Illini in that one. So you have Iowa State, I have Illinois, so that should set up a pretty interesting.
Folks, we can pick differently.
We can. It happens
we just
sometimes. Clearly. You guys saw it. We all saw it. But that could be an interesting matchup. Either way, with UConn or San Diego State could pull off the upset, and whoever wins that Illinois-Iowa State game. So
10:09 p.m. Illinois Iowa State.
Ridiculous. Speaking of another late start, down in the West region, the number one seed North Carolina Tar Heels take care of business in both of their first two rounds and make it to the Sweet 16. Alabama played in probably one of the most ugly basketball games I've ever seen in the NCAA tournament against Grand Canyon. But they made it to the Sweet 16 and, face a Carolina team that has a lot to prove, not only to themselves, but I think to college basketball. What do you think about this matchup? Do you think that, Alabama has enough defense to stop the Heels? And what do you think, the Heels' biggest factor is in this game?
Yeah, a lot of people are actually pointing to Alabama's defensive effort against Hi, Luna. Pointing to Alabama's defensive effort against Grand Canyon. I mean, no disrespect to Alabama, but I think that was more so Grand Canyon had four dudes out there trying to play hero ball.
Right.
The majority of the second half and taking dumb shot after dumb shot. And I mean, the over under on this one's 173.5. So, I mean, the thing people need, Alabama does like to play a fast pace. They like to get up and down the court. They score a lot of points. They don't really play defense. They're not really good on that end. But Carolina can play that way if you want them to, but Carolina does have a very good defense, and they show that, especially in stretches against Michigan State after Coach Hubert Davis challenged them about a third of the way into the first half. Michigan State was pushing them around, getting whatever they wanted down low. Then Carolina locked in on the defensive end, started hitting their shots. But a big thing for me, for Carolina to win this game, obviously keep playing defense to the level like they're capable of. I think they need to go to Armando Bacot early and often in this one because Alabama doesn't have anyone who can match him, his size and his ability down low. And he's played really, really well the first two games. And I think for Carolina to be successful in this one, go through him first. And honestly, I would have a lot of Seth Trimble in this game to be on Mark Sears for Alabama. He scored 26 against Grand Canyon. He averages, I think, roughly 20 or 21 a game this year. I think you'll see a healthy dose of Seth Trimble in this one. Carolina's best on-ball defender guarding Mark Sears. But kind of going back to Iowa State, what I said, maybe let Terrence Shannon, like he's going to do what he's going to do. Mark Sears is going to do what Mark Sears does. Make everybody else in Alabama beat you. That's just what I think it comes down for Carolina. And they're favored -4.5 in this one. I like the Heels to win this one. I don't think Alabama has the defense to keep up with Carolina. And I think RJ will win the matchup against Mark Sears in the backcourt.
Yeah, and I think, a big piece of what you mentioned is I think a bigger factor is Carolina's ability to play defense versus Alabama's ability to play defense. And I think Carolina checks a box in that head-to-head comparison between the two teams. And then again, somewhere else I look is the best player on the floor, and to me, that's RJ Davis. So I think Carolina is going to go, they're going to power themselves through a defensive mindset and then come out and make their shots and again, let RJ Davis do what RJ Davis does, and that's score the basketball from both inside the arc and outside. So I think the Heels are going to have too much for Alabama in this one, so I'm going to go with the Heels as well.
Yeah, and if they get secondary scoring like they got from Cormac Ryan and Harrison Ingram against Michigan State, Carolina's very, very hard to beat when they get that secondary scoring out there. And still waiting for Elliot Cadeau to have a big game too. He's kind of struggled in the first two games. Alabama probably will dare him to shoot, just like Michigan State was. He went 0 for 4 from 3, but I mean, keep shooting. I mean, he is a good shooter. I mean, if teams are going to give you that, I mean, you got to make them respect it at some point. Until it starts hurting the team, I'd let it fly.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at some point, his talent is going to shine through. This is his first NCAA tournament, and so I think there's a lot to be said for that. And when you have guys like RJ and Mondo and Cormac and Harrison Ingram and guys that can make shots, the weight's not all on your shoulders. And I think he realizes that. But there will be a time where they're going to need him. So obviously better now to start making those shots than later. So that should be.
And for Jalen Withers to keep bringing that energy off the bench. He's been really, really big since the postseason started. Going back to the ACC tournament, his minutes have been kind of spotty throughout the year, but he's really found his role as the energy guy on this team. He'll go and get you 6 to 8 points a game. He'll play. He can guard 1 through 5. He's very athletic, can block shots, get you boards. So shout out to Jalen Withers. Keep bringing that energy off the bench.
Yep. So we'll see what Hubie cooks up for the Heels in that matchup with Alabama. And then moving down to the other matchup in the West region, you have number 6 Clemson, who, kind of towards the end of the season, really wasn't playing consistent basketball, but has found a way to win their first 2 games. A little bit of a surprise, I think. In my mind, maybe even a little bit more than NC State. NC State was a team with momentum. Clemson is not. So I think in that respect, Clemson was able to put something together in the first round and even in the round of 32 to make it to the Sweet 16. But they go against an Arizona team that is explosive on offense, obviously led by Caleb Love. So, this is a bit of a, time might be running out for Clemson here, but if they can, they've shown that they can hang with Duke and Carolina. So maybe they can hang with Arizona here. What do you see in this game? Obviously, Caleb Love is an incredible player for Arizona and could be enough to, by himself lead Arizona past Clemson. But what do you think Clemson has to do to win this game?
Arizona likes to play at a very, very fast pace. Clemson, not so much. I think if Arizona can speed them up, get them running, play their up-tempo game, and if Arizona locks in on defense, like sometimes it seems like they're hot and cold from there. I think they win this game. They're favored -7.5. I am going to take Arizona in this one. I do think their backcourt will be too much. Caleb Love and Boswell back there would be too much for Clemson's backcourt. I wouldn't be surprised, though, to see Clemson win this game. They've got really good players over there. PJ Hall, Ian, I can't think of his last name.
I can't either.
He's Shireman, I think his name is. That dude's just the dirty work guy. He does whatever that team needs him to do. Joe Girard, Travis Hunter in the backcourt. Travis Hunter's playing really, really well, too. Wouldn't be surprised to see Clemson win this one, but I think Arizona, if they can turn this into a track meet, they'll win the game and set up the Caleb Love Bowl in the Elite Eight against Carolina. But I want to see it. I want it.
Well, clearly the selection committee wanted to see it too.
And I think a lot of other people do too. I want Caleb Love versus RJ Davis.
Yeah. I think, it's going to take the way that Clemson played against Carolina in Chapel Hill and the way they played against Duke in Durham for them to be able to pull this one off. They're going to have to, muck it up a little bit, try to get Arizona off the rhythm. But once Caleb, if Caleb Love starts hitting his shots, then it's a tough situation for anybody to be in on the opposing side of that. So, I'm going to pick Arizona too. But again, just like you said, I mean, with the momentum that they have, anything can happen in March. And I think I wouldn't be surprised either if Clemson were able to pull off this upset.
Yeah, Clemson needs PJ Hall to stay out of foul trouble. He's their best player. He fouled out with a good chunk of time left in against Baylor, and he got two quick fouls against New Mexico in that first round game. Obviously, they won that game handily, but they need him to stay out of foul trouble if they want to win this game.
Yeah. So, exciting basketball in the East and West regions ahead. We'll move to the South region, who, obviously, as you mentioned in the opener, Houston and Duke and NC State and Marquette. We'll start with Houston and Duke. Houston is a team, I think, right now that you don't really know what you're going to get at any moment in the game. They squandered a 13-point lead with 2.5 minutes left and had to win in overtime to get here. And Duke is a team where, again, you really don't know what you're going to get out of Duke on any given night. They're getting scoring from a couple different people, but not a lot of consistent scoring from everybody that they need. And especially in a game like this where, Houston has shown all year long that they belong as a 1 seed. But we'll see what we're going to get against, Duke here. What do you think about Houston and Duke in this 1 versus 4 matchup?
Yeah, Duke, really impressive against James Madison. They blew the doors off the Dukes. I mean, beat a good James Madison team too, but they look very overmatched against Duke. Jared McCain had one of the best games of the tournament so far. Dropped 30. I think he hit 6, 7, or 8 3-pointers too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Houston. I know Houston did have A&M was able to force overtime against them in that second round game. Houston's at least three of their starting 5 fouled out before that overtime even started. And honestly, that Wade Taylor dude for A&M just started hitting shots after Jamal Shed had held him in check pretty much all game. So I do think Houston, if they can stay out of foul trouble, I think this one comes down to Houston has dogs on their team. I've said it all year. I don't care how good they looked against James Madison. Duke has 0 dogs on that team. Tyrese Proctor is not a dog. Jared McCain is not a dog. Kyle Filipowski is 1,000% not a dog. And Houston that whole starting 5 is full of dogs. And I think they're going to really make life tough for Duke on the defensive end like they've done with a lot of people this year. Really get them off their game. And I think they're going to win. I think this game will be the final score of this game will be in the 60s.
Yeah, I think in order for Duke to win this game, they're going to have everybody on the floor hitting their shots and for people to stay out of foul trouble, which, obviously is a recipe for anybody to win a basketball game. But I think that's what has to happen for Duke to win this game. As you mentioned, Houston's full of dogs and they're well coached. And I think that'll have a big part in this as well. Shire has kind of shown the ability to get out coached at certain points in the season. Which is going to come with, being a new head coach and with the expectation that they have at Duke. But I think Houston wins this one. And I think, you're probably on the money there.
Shed, whatever the hell you would call him, is going to make life a living hell for Jared McCain.
Yeah. So I think, we're both in agreement there with Houston. Down to the State Marquette matchup. Marquette looks pretty good. And so does State in a lot of ways too. But I think State is a team where all things have to go right for State to win a game. They're getting big time shots and big time production out of Big Boy down there in the post, and then out of some of their shot makers around the perimeter as well. And then Marquette, Tyler Kolek coming back to Marquette, adds a completely different dynamic to this team. And they've shown that they have
19 points and 11 assists in 2 games.
He's a baller. So I think I'm going to pick Marquette. I think this has been a nice little run for State, 7 in a row, ACC tournament champions. But I think this is where it stops in the Sweet 16. I think Marquette takes them down and kind of brings them back to earth. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take a sip of my Haterade right now. The Cinderella run is over. I'm just going to I need it to be over too. Marquette. Tyler Kolek and Cam Jones are one of the best backcourts in this tournament. I think Oso, I'm not going to butcher his last name. They're big man for Marquette. I think he's 6'11". I think he's going to disrupt DJ Burns down low. Give me Marquette in this one. They're favored -6.5. The clock is striking midnight, and State's about to turn back into a pumpkin.
It's a good run for Big Shirley, though.
Yeah,
I'll give him that.
respect to them. They're getting big contributions from Muhammad Diarra and O'Connell. They're that point guard. But yeah, I just think if DJ Horn plays like he did against Oakland, against Marquette, State does not have a prayer to win this game.
Yeah, I agree. There's just too much on the other side of the ball in this one. I mean, you can't bank on it. And Oakland should have won that game, in my opinion. They had every chance to win that game, but Megamind couldn't hit the shots when he needed to get Oakland past State in that one. And you know, it is what it is. It's tournament basketball, right? So I think we're both in agreement on Marquette there. We'll move down to the Midwest. Purdue, again, a team that, you know, we've said before we're not really huge believers in. I think, you know, if anybody, Matt Painter is the one with the most to prove here with the teams that he's had in the past, and his inability to make it to a Final Four is pretty telling. And then Zach Edey, all signs, I think, point to him being the Naismith Player of the Year, which I think is a travesty. I think RJ Davis deserves that award, but that's neither here nor there. And against a Gonzaga team that's kind of flown under the radar this year, not really used to, you know, not being in the spotlight the last 4 or 5 years. Gonzaga's kind of been up there as a 1 or a 2 seed, but flying under the radar a little bit as a number 5, but playing well. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. I don't really know what to make of this one. You know, obviously Purdue is playing well so far, but, you know, again, so is Gonzaga to make it here to the Sweet 16. What is the line here? What do you have there?
Purdue -5.5.
It's a little bit bigger than I would have thought, but I don't know. I want to. Part of me wants to lean Gonzaga just because I'm not a Zach Edey fan. Good player, nice player, but I don't think he's all that he's cracked up to be. You know my take. If you guys have watched any of the basketball pods that we've done on here, I think he's protected by the Big Ten officials. But that is what it is. I'm gonna go. Give me the High Street Sports upset pick of the week, or of this episode, rather. I'm going to go Gonzaga over Purdue.
Oh, you stole my thunder. I'm taking the Zags too. Gonzaga is playing their best ball of the season right now. That second half against Kansas, I think I counted 5 missed shots by them.
Yeah.
And that was shaping up. It looked like it was going to be probably the best game of the tournament at that point. They were trading bucket. Kansas and Gonzaga were going bucket for bucket in that first half, but Gonzaga blew the doors off the Jayhawks, albeit a shorthanded without Kevin McCullough over there, but still a good Kansas team over there in that second half. I think Ryan Nembhard and Nolan Hickman, that backcourt for Gonzaga, is better than what Purdue has. I think that big guy they have down the low, Ike, I think he'll do just enough to slow Zach Edey down. Zach Edey's probably still going to get his 20 points. But like I've said, I mean, you can call it the theme of this episode. Like I said with Carolina, Alabama, let Mark Sears do his thing. Illinois, Iowa State, let Terrence Shannon do his thing. Let Zach Edey do his thing. Make the rest of Purdue beat you. You know what Zach Edey's going to do. He's hard to stop. He's 7'4". We get it. Make the rest of that Purdue team beat you. And I think if Gonzaga does that, they will win.
Stamp it. That's a double down. We're going High Street Sports upset pick of the week for both of us, Gonzaga over Purdue. So that should be an exciting matchup, though. I mean, I anything can happen. Again, it's March. We get it. It's madness. But that should be an exciting one. And on to the last Sweet 16 matchup here. We have number 3 Creighton versus number 2 Tennessee. And I think if there's any game that I think I'm most excited about as far as the Sweet 16 games go, this is going to be a good one. Creighton, you know, an incredible game against Oregon. Oregon, I thought with, 2 minutes left in that game, I thought Oregon had that one in the bag. Then it went to overtime. First overtime, was pretty even. I think Oregon missed out on a couple chances to put them away. And then in the second overtime, just absolutely just buried the Ducks. I think the Ducks didn't score a point in that second overtime until maybe under a minute left or something. Yeah. So I think it was on free throws. I don't know if they got a field goal in that second overtime, but Ducks looked like they were gassed. They just didn't have anything left, and Creighton made shots when they had to. In Tennessee, it's been a tale of two Tennessees. They lost to Kentucky late in the SEC regular season, and then they just got absolutely buried by Mississippi State in the SEC tournament. But they've looked good in the first two games here. Dalton Connect is going to need to do. They've looked okay. They've played well enough to make it to the Sweet 16. Let's put it that way. Connect is going to have to do connect things for them to beat Creighton here. What do you think about this matchup? I don't know really what to point more towards as far as this goes. I mean, you're going to need Creighton to shoot the ball, and Zach Edey and Connect is going to have to shoot the ball well in this one too. So, what do you think gives either team leg up?
Tennessee as a whole is going to have to shoot the ball better. I was really confident in having them as a Final Four pick after their first game against St. Peter's, albeit I know it's a 15 seed, but there is no reason that they should have let Texas get it as close as they did in that second round game. I think at one point Tennessee was 1 for 20 from 3-point land. That ain't going to win against Creighton. Creighton is a team full of shot makers. They have a great coach over there in Greg McDermott. They only go 7 deep. So you got to wonder if fatigue is going to set in for them. But maybe another upset, but you can double stamp me. I'm picking the Blue Jays in this one. I do not like what I saw from Tennessee. If Tennessee's not making their shots like they did against Texas, a good offensive team like Creighton can bury them. And I really like the Blue Jays in this one. We're going to use the word galvanized. They're galvanized from their overtime win against a very good Oregon Ducks team. And give me the Blue Jays winning this one.
That was going to be my point as well. I think Oregon was slightly underseeded due to the injuries that they were dealing with throughout the later half of the regular season. They made a run into the Pac-12 and had a good showing in that conference tournament too. So I agree with you. I think Oregon was a much better team than they got seeded, and Creighton beat a really good Oregon team. Creighton is also a really good team, as you mentioned, well coached, and they're just like you said, full of shot makers. Tennessee is struggling. It's kind of Jekyll and Hyde for them. Dalton Connect is going to have to go off. I mean, that is what it is. He's going to have 30 or 35 in this game.
And even if he goes off, it's not a guarantee they win. We've seen that happen.
Right. Correct. So yeah, I'm gonna lean the Blue Jays as well. They're playing really good basketball at the right time. And I think I like it. And again, I mentioned in the lead into talking about this game, the way that they kind of buried Oregon, albeit Oregon looked kind of gassed and Creighton kind of had what it took to get through that. But I like the killer mentality that Creighton showed in that second overtime matchup against Oregon there. So yeah, I think I'll stamp you on that one as well. Double down and go Creighton in that game as well. So yeah, I mean that's the Sweet 16. Any final thoughts before we kind of move on from the Sweet 16?
Reminder: Houston and Marquette need to do the Lord's work.
Yeah, please, God, at least Marquette. I mean, I know a lot of State fans, friends with a lot of State fans. Love y'all, but
y'all can comment. Y'all can call me whatever you want to. I am putting on my certified hater hat for this episode. I'm tired of it. I want State out. I'm tired of hearing 1983 blah blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It's bad. Call me out in the comments if you want to. I welcome it. I will have a discussion with anybody. It's back to your regularly scheduled programming for NC State basketball after this run.
But Kevin Keats is a winner.
No, he's not. And fuck Duke.
Well, and there's that. There you have it. That's our Sweet 16 conversation. Should be a lot of exciting basketball. I know the first weekend had a lot in store. So this is your Sweet 16 preview. We will be back Saturday morning for an Elite 8 preview. And then next week with the Final Four look ahead as well. So a lot more coming from us. Been an exciting weekend of the tournament so far. There's a lot more to come. We are still sitting at 94 subscribers. So those of you that are watching this and not subscribed, just lost
some State fans, so I'm sorry.
That'll be fine. It's a game.
Who needs them? Who needs
it's
them?
a game of attrition, and it's sports. If you can't take it, get out of the kitchen anyways. So we appreciate you guys for stopping back in and hanging out with us as we talk some tournament hoops. This is the best time of the year, and it's going to continue into another exciting weekend. Like I said, for those of you still not subscribed, go ahead and hit the button that's right around here, but it's on John Ross's side. My finger doesn't travel all the way to his side, so it's right under his nipple somewhere. Hit that sub button. It's free. You won't miss anything that comes out of high street sports, whether it be basketball, whether it be hockey, whether it be the sport that all of us love in football. Baseball even is coming up, so we'll have some baseball talk on here for you guys. So a lot of stuff coming up here as we move throughout the year. We appreciate you guys coming back. For John Ross, my name is Chris. This has been episode 51 of High Street Sports. We will see y'all on the next one.
Thanks, guys.